Are you struggling to close deals even with a great product? What if the one thing holding your business back is how you're doing sales?
The best salespeople are two things. They ask really good questions and they're curious.
Not take no for an answer.
Today's guest, Solway, has helped founders go from sales confusion to clarity by making sales feel natural, repeatable, and scalable. He built his career by getting really good at one thing, helping businesses master sales that actually scale.
What's more important to the buyer is how they buy, not how you sell.
Yeah.
That's actually what sales is. Solving people's problems and the art of getting good at having awkward conversations while you're doing it.
It's a bit like dating, really, isn't it? From working with Australia's top-tier banks like CBA and AMP to launching founder sales solutions, Pete's been on a mission to remove the guesswork and help founders like you sell with confidence. So grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee and let's talk founder-led sales and how you can finally get it right. Welcome back to Sip and Solve, where business brains meet over a good cup of tea. And today's guest is someone who knows exactly how to help founders fall back in love with selling. We're joined by Pete Solway, founder of Founders Sales Solutions, who's on a mission to help purpose-driven business owners shift from feeling awkward about sales to owning it with confidence. Pete's background spans decades of hands-on sales strategy, coaching, and founder selling, meaning he's seen what works, what flops, and how to make selling feel natural again. Whether you're a solo founder or scaling a team, today's episode is all about turning sales into something you look forward to. So grab your tea and get ready to solve one of the biggest puzzles in business, selling with soul. So welcome, Pete.
Thanks, Louise. Good to be here.
So that's the favorite part of doing a podcast, because what I do each time I do the podcast is I go into ChatGPT and I say, tell me about Pete Solway from Founders Sales Solution. And then I see what it says. And that's what it said.
Very good.
Yeah.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah.
I'd evolve the mission bit a little bit.
Yeah.
It's close. But in Australia, there's a 48% first sales hire failure rate. And that's a big part of our mission. There's a few of us out there in the market that have been first sales hires, that have been small business owners and understand what it takes to transition from the founder doing all the sales themselves, like you have, to bringing that first person on who actually works out. Because that that first salesperson is so much more challenging for most, but different than most salespeople have ever experienced, particularly if they've come out of a larger organization where they've walked in and they've had all of the sales things figured out and they're an executor. Yeah. This is a figure it out and execute type phase, and that's real specialization of ours.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I love that because I have been in that position. I've been the founder and having to do sales, which for me was always, I've only ever just solved people's problems. And so that's all I know about sales is what problem have you got and how can I fix it? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's what you're saying really changes that perception of what it is that you have and how you take it to market. Mm. And what was your pathway into this job? Like what is it that you love so much about selling, and how did you get into?
Well, it's an interesting question. The short version of the long story is I've started quite a few businesses over the years. I've raised capital as a founder. I've been a founder, right? That's how I started out. At one point on my journey, I had a business mentor say to me, "What skill are you like? What's your thing?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm a business owner. I'm a founder. I'm an entrepreneur." And he said, "No. You can be that, but you also have to go really deep on one particular area, particularly in early stages of business, so you can add some real core value and drive the business forward." I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, I'm extroverted. I'm good with people. Maybe I should double down on this sales things. Now, this is eons ago. This is probably towards the 15 years ago mark. Yeah. That's when I first went, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be a founder. But how do I get really good at this sales thing too? Yeah. Because I need a skill set to drive things forward. And that was kind of the first conscious moment of me going, okay, I'm going to figure this sales thing out along my path. went through a few different businesses, lots of sales involved in all of the things, some success, some failures, but really where I guess the foundation for what I do now came into play was when I was hired as a first sales hire into a tech business. Borderline, you could argue whether it had even started. It had $1,000 in revenue, right? Like it had some software that had been built. It certainly didn't have product market fit. It was very early stage, and I joined a founder and I went, let's figure this out. Let's get out there. Let's have lots of conversations. Let's leverage networks. And it was a piece of software that we were selling into. Well, originally we were sort of selling it into wherever we could sell it into, but then we really decided on an enterprise play. So how do we sell it into the likes of AMP and Combank and government organizations like the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and like they all eventually became customers, but we had to figure that out of how do we go from the founder doing some sales with his perspective on things, me coming into the mix, not understanding the industry and the nuances and the target and all of the passions that he had behind it, and extracting that and putting it in a way that actually allowed me to sell and get results without him being there all of the time. And I certainly kept bringing him out at the right times. Anyway, that was a 5-year journey. We put the foundations in, sold to all of those big logos, figured stuff out, made a ton of mistakes, and were lucky enough to have enough funding so that I could make all of those mistakes. Unfortunately, or fortunately, a lot of small business owners don't have the money to make all of those mistakes, right? And so I take those learnings now and work with founders like yourself, helping them make more sales directly, but then setting up a pathway so that you can bring on a salesperson and expand through that really tough pivot point of getting that first, second, third salesperson right, establishing a sales function from scratch, basically.
So one of the things, and I discussed this with Therese, our last podcast guest, who is an HR expert, is when I first set up the business, and when you're a business owner, you have a lot of passion for what it is that you do, and you do it because you love it. There is no other reason why you can set up your own business unless you loved what you were doing. It took me a long time to understand that the people that I was hiring didn't have the same passion for the business as me. So if you're in that position, and I know when I first started working with you, you talked to me about how I needed to be the one that was, out there selling the business. And I'm like, well, how can I do the work and sell the business? Like where? So I guess what I'm getting to is at what point do you want to say, okay, it's now time for me to hire somebody who's going to do this job? How am I going to give them the passion that I have? How do I get that, what you were just saying then about, well, I didn't know the industry and I didn't know the person. Like how does that come across and how does that work out?
Yeah, great question. I think let's start with the essence here. Something that is not replicable is founder presence, right? Like that founder energy, that passion, that specific lens on the industry. You can sell stuff without as much sales technique, right? Others need the sales technique to close the gap. And so what you're doing while you're getting out there as the founder and selling it and figuring out is you start codifying what things work from a rational perspective, not just the emotional, because you're selling with emotion as well, right? But if you start bringing in some, okay, these are the customers that are our best customers, and these are the problems that they have, and this is why they bought off us, and you start codifying that into some messaging, some targeting, and then you fuel it with a bit of sales methodology or sales technique or sales process behind that, with a good CRM and a few other foundations. We've got a really good free 4-minute self-assessment that you can do on our website if founders are looking to what are those things that we can put in place. That goes into a lot more detail. But yeah, you're starting to codify that in a rational way, not just an emotive, energy, passion, insight kind of way.
I love that. That really makes a lot of sense. So I guess the next thing as a founder is when you start a business, you're the practitioner and you're doing the work because you've been experienced, and that's what you do. And then somebody tells you, oh, you have to sell, and like the question, oh, I hate selling, I don't want to be a seller. Like, what's your answer to that?
I get it all the time. First thing is I encourage all of you founders out there to have the mindset that sales doesn't have to be gross. It doesn't have to be a thing that you hate. And let's look at the psyche behind why you feel that way. It's because you've been sold to by people who are pushy, annoying, and don't listen to you and speak over the top of you and try and sell you stuff that you don't want and do icky, slimy things to push sell on you, right? That's gross. You don't need to do that to be a good salesperson.
Yeah.
A sales mentor of mine has given me lots of gold, but there's two things I remember about good salespeople, right?
Yep.
The best salespeople are two things. They ask really good questions and they're curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you take those principles, just like what you spoke about, right? I don't really know sales. I just go and solve people's problems.
Yes.
That's actually what sales is, right? Is solving people's problems and the art of getting good at having awkward conversations while you're doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And if you start to take that mindset to it that like, hey, sales isn't this dirty, pushy thing. You can be authentic, you can be real, you can solve problems. One of the techniques I give founders, right? If you're willing to walk away when it's not a fit for someone else to buy, the chances of you preventing yourself from becoming that sales icky, gross person that you don't want to be is extremely high, because that's the thing that all of those salespeople did to you that made you feel gross about sales. They pushed you on something that wasn't a fit for you.
Yeah.
If you just encourage people, open them up, try and solve problems for them, point out opportunities and ways their problems can be solved in a way that makes sense and is a fit for them, they can always choose not to work with you.
Yeah.
But you've done your bit as a business owner, as somebody in a sales type role, and then you can start to find that rhythm of, oh, it's just a conversation. It's just getting curious about understanding people, businesses, and their problems, and that can feel a lot better.
It's a bit like dating, really, isn't it? It is, because, like, you know, if you find someone's profile on the internet and you hook up with them and you go and meet with them, it's a little bit the same. Like, if you're just interested in them and curious about, like, you might find that you have nothing in common, and then it's not
a fit.
Personal. It's just not a fit. Like, we just don't, like, there's nothing wrong with you or me. We're just not a fit. Let's move on. So it's a little bit like that. It's a little bit like taking out the personal stuff. Oh, he doesn't like me because of blah. Like, that's just not really
not a fit.
It's just not a fit. Either you are or you're not.
Yeah.
And, you know, okay, well, I can relate to that. That's relatable to me. Okay, we're going to have our little tea break bit. Have you got your tea? What kind of tea have you got today?
We've gone for peppermint in line with the brand. It's nice and cooling.
Well,
I appreciate that.
I'm very pleased to hear that. I know it's good, isn't it? So I didn't realise how many benefits peppermint oil had. I've always liked peppermint tea. When we were looking for a name for a business, I was like, peppermint is really, like, it's just nice. It's just calming and refreshing. There's lots of benefits of peppermint. So I like to get a little bit nosy about what people use for their tech business and personal life. So my first question is, do you have an Apple or an Android phone?
Apple.
And your computer?
Also Apple.
Also Apple. Very good. And do you have a smartwatch?
No.
So you just Apple all the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it to me simple.
Okay.
I'll pay a bit more for simplicity and ease.
Excellent. And on your computer or even on your phone, do you know what your most used application is on your mobile phone?
I don't. It's a good question.
I always laugh about this. I'm sure I've said it a couple of times, but my partner is always sitting next to me on the lounge while I'm working. Every time I look, he's on the calculator. Calculating now. And then a lady on the television said something on the news, like, you know, you can go into your app and you can say, what's your most used app? And so we did it. His most used app was the calculator.
That's hilarious.
I know.
It's gold. Mine's probably email. Probably.
Yeah.
Email.
Okay. Yeah.
I get excited about email. I know a lot of people get overwhelmed by email, but when you've been in sales long enough and you have purchase orders and deals signed showing up in your inbox, like it's created this anchor that it's like every time I open my inbox, I'm like waiting for a little surprise.
That's great. I love that. Okay. I think you might be the first person with that answer. That's usually people say YouTube or Instagram or something. What about social media? What do you use?
I'm a bit old school. I use Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. LinkedIn?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny. Yes, LinkedIn's classed as social, but I feel like it's almost like a different mode, right? If I'm at home and I'm scrolling, I'm on. But if I'm, in my work day or whatever, maybe it's LinkedIn that I'm scrolling. So.
And for your business, what do you use as a CRM? Because I'm going to guess as a sales specialist, you are big on CRM and management of data in and out of the business.
Mm-hmm.
What's your preferred platform?
I think it really depends on the business need. If it's purely for the sales functions needs, I default to HubSpot. Yep. Just because the cheap and free versions can get most small businesses a very long way. It's very powerful. It's very simple, very easy. Pipedrive was a close sort of second competitor. I would say similar sort of value, doesn't have the scale, you know, in terms of if you want to bring marketing in and those types of things. I know you like Zoho. I find Zoho is more powerful for integrating. If you've got like back-end office delivery things and you're trying to integrate some ERP functions and different things like that, that's where an option like that can be more the appropriate decision for the business. But I do find it takes a couple extra clicks to do things than the speed of HubSpot and Pipedrive.
Agree with that. What do you use?
I use HubSpot. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. We started with HubSpot as well, and I do really like HubSpot. Yeah. But we just need that extra bunch of plugins and operational stuff and desk management and tickets and all that stuff. Great. So I think that completes our data. It's like when you were kids and your dad talked about where they were Ford and Holden people.
Definitely Mac person.
Yeah. No, he's Mac and PC people.
Yeah.
Kind of like the division, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What I would like to know now is, when you are a business owner, at what point do you say, I'm really busy, I need to build my business and grow my business a bit more, and I think maybe I need to get a salesperson? What point would that be, do you think? Is there like some key indicators that let you know that you're at that point, and what would you do to get that started?
It's a good question. I think it comes down to, oftentimes small business owners go way too early or way too late. The too early is, I hate sales, get me out of here as soon as possible, as soon as I can possibly afford it. That's too early. Too late is you're literally missing out on sales opportunities because everything comes through you. And so it's somewhere in the middle of that, probably as halfway in between as you can. Here's the thing. Don't be going out to hire a salesperson as soon as you need them. You need some prep time, right? There's a few fundamentals, like from a finances point of view, that you want to get set up. You want to have a few months worth of that person's salary, because a salesperson just doesn't come in and just start closing for you. They've got to have ramp time. They've got to learn. They've got to build up some pipeline, maybe leverage some of what you've got already, right? The next principle you want to go through is having your system set up, right? Like, so do you have a CRM? Do you have a process for lead generation? Or have you just been running off referrals and you expect them to figure it out from scratch? If you've figured out some level of repeatable process of bringing in leads that you can take and give a salesperson, their ability to take that to the next level is going to be significantly higher than trying to getting them to figure that out from scratch. That to me is part of the founder's job. The next area that you want to think about is the target market. Like, who's your ideal customer? Who's your ideal organization? What industries are they in? Like, why would they buy off you? What's your unique selling proposition? Like, why you as opposed to any of your competitors? Or like having that stuff not just all in your head, starting to document that, and forever go through a bit of a cycle of improving that over time, right? We like to do a bit of a process each quarter where we look at the deals you've won in the past quarter and go, who are the best favorite customers here? What are the common traits, and how can we take that back into our lead generation, our sales approach, and bring all of that in? If you start on the journey around those different areas, and then be prepared for, and you don't necessarily have to do this until you hire the person, but it's not as, if you're paying someone less than 150 a year in salary and sales, chances are they need actual proper management. They're not someone you can just go, I'll go sell and figure it out, right? Because if they were in those sort of, salary brackets in another job, they would definitely have management around them, giving them all the support that they need at every corner, right? So when you hire them, putting a structure as far as a yearly target, quarterly targets, weekly sales meeting, bit of sales coaching to help them, get to the next level, you want to be covering off those different areas.
So I have two questions on that. One is salary structure. Should it be really low base and then mostly commission, or does that depend on the business? Like, is that something I'm not even allowed to ask?
Of course.
But also then after that, I want to talk about the difference between sales and marketing, because you do touch a little bit on in that sentence about who your target market is. And that's really, I feel like you need to make sure you've got your marketing stuff under control too. So what the
potentially. Let's start with the salary thing. Okay. For everyone out there, commission only sounds amazing.
Yeah.
If you're selling something business to business, selling to consumers, different world, different market, different salespeople.
Yeah.
Let's talk to another expert about that. If you're selling business to business,
yeah.
if you're an average salesperson, like somewhat early in your career, you can walk into $100,000 a year salary, 180, 200 expected earnings, or maybe 120 salary and 200 expected earnings, you know, when you hit all your commission targets, right? That's the reality of what you're competing in. So why would someone take a commission only role when you haven't built all the systems, processes, and infallible way of helping them exceed that, right? So what you end up with is people who aren't as good at sales if you're taking commission only, and therefore you put them in the hardest role, which is the first sales hire, and then they don't work out, and then you've just wasted all of that time, effort, and energy, and don't think sales work. So what we like to do is make sure the business, this is what I mean about the finances point of view, get to a point where you've got enough finances for a few months of their runway so that they can actually get in and give things a proper go. And there's lots of things that you can do to bolster the business to get your growth so that you can get to that place. So that's a good leverage point to be aware of. When thinking about when to hire a salesperson. Do we have the cash in place? Do we need to put more things so that we've got some more, you know, and while you're going down that path of making more cash for the business, you're building more understandings of your ideal customer and building out all of those logical things we talked about earlier so that somebody else can sell for you. Okay, so that's what we're talking around. The general-ish rule is a little under 50-50. So, you know, 120 salary, 200 on target earnings, or 150 salary, 250, you know, on target earnings. What I mean for everyone by on target earnings, by the way, is if the person is hitting their targets that you set out for them, please don't hire them and go, oh, you just get a single percentage on any deals that you sell. Make sure there's a target, because then they have a measurement for what success looks like. Otherwise, it's like they're just running around hoping they make sales, right? And they don't have context. They might go after lots of small deals that don't actually move the business forward and give you the ROI. I'll give you one more piece around this. It's really important, right? For a sustainable B2B sales function, you need to be making 3 to 5 times what it is that you spend on the salesperson. So if you spend 200 on them between salary and, you know, their commissions and their super and everything else, right? You want to be making at least 600 off them. Right? Now, if you're at making 400 out of them in the first year, and then you've got target to make 600 out of them the second year, that's so fine, right? Like there's ramp time. Don't forget about that. But if you're trying to build a model that's scalable with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 salespeople, they're the sort of numbers you need to be working with. And obviously industry nuances, but that's a good ballpark to start with to see if the economics of the model work out for having someone selling on your behalf.
Wow, that's amazing. I love those numbers. That's so clear.
That's the idea.
Excellent. So the marketing part, when you're being, you know, how clear do you need to be, and do you feel like you need to have, because I feel like somebody said that marketing is where you do something and then people come to you because they like it, whereas sales is you're going to them because you've got something that you want to offer them. So understand that that's kind of the basis of the difference between marketing and sales. But where's the crossover? Because plenty of times in my life I've heard, well, I can't make the sale because the marketing department's not doing their job. And if they're not doing their job, and there's not something something that's happening over there, what is it that's my responsibility? If they're not doing their job, how can I do mine?
Yeah, 100%. It's a great question. Okay, here's my theory on growing a B2B based business. This is my theory. Others might argue with it, but this is mine. You don't need marketing to get started. You can sell to people in your network, go out, outreach, have a basic website, have a LinkedIn profile. You don't need to be doing all of these multi-touch points to get started. Right? This is part of the founder figuring out your product market messaging fit. You can build that first few 100,000, $500,000 in revenue, something in that range. Now, others, I've met a company that got to about 6 million before they started implementing marketing properly. So in B2B, and I've spoken to good marketers about this as well, in B2B, very different to B2C. B2B, you lead with sales. You get things going from a sales point of view.
Yeah.
Then when you've got all the insights from the conversations that you've had in sales, you take those, you give them to the marketers, and the marketers now start hitting the 95% of buyers who aren't ready to buy from you yet, right?
Yeah.
Because in sales, what we're doing is we're going out and trying to hunt for people that are in a situation where they've got a problem that they need to solve in the small foreseeable future, and they've got the budget to do so. Right? There's also all the people who are completely unaware they have the problem, or aware they have the problem and don't have the budget yet, or they've got higher priorities, all of those sorts of things, right? And this is where the marketing magic comes in, is when you start having, like, planting seeds with them via ongoing softer touches of communication, so that when it comes to, now I have the budget, the prioritization and the need to do something about this in the shortest foreseeable future, that you're the person or one of the few people that they come to have that conversation with. That's where marketing comes in. A salesperson sitting there expecting, particularly as a first sales rep, just expecting marketing to feed them leads, unless you're going into a business that already has a full system and it's working and it's proven, expect to be going out there hunting and finding your own. But if you're the salesperson listening to this, do give your founder or your business owner a bit of a nudge and go, hey, what's working for you? What have you proven? Or you're just sitting there waiting for referrals. How about you run some experiments? Run some experiments, see the results, see that something's kind of working. You got to have enough of that kind of working. Otherwise, you're too early to bring the salesperson on. They could work out, but there's a significantly higher chance that your salesperson doesn't work out by not solving that one particular thing.
Yeah.
I do get passion. This is my area of passion, because I've been a first sales hire, I've been a founder.
Yeah.
It's a challenging journey, and getting that sales function established from scratch, it's a particular pivot point. If you can't get somebody else in your business selling for you, you'll only ever make so much money.
Yeah.
Right? Your business will only ever be of a certain size. And you can have great, incredible businesses, but it's a particular point that some just never get through, and some need a couple of false starts to get through. And thinking through these principles we've talked about really increases the likelihood that you're not going to have so many false starts.
Thank you for that, because that's reminded me what I was going to say, which is, I feel like I was listening to Diary of a CEO, Stephen, right? And I think he said, I can't remember whether it was him or one of the guests that he had on his show, he said something, I think he said, I'm most grateful in my career for my very, very first sales jobs, where I made a telephone call and I got rejected every single day, multiple times every single day.
Yep.
Because that gave me the grit and the resilience and just the determination to just keep pushing through that. And I love that, because I do think, like, I understand the ickiness sometimes around about sales, but as a salesperson, having to deal with that rejection every day, and also I think as a founder, when you've been, really great at your craft and everything that you do, you're used to people saying, thank you, that's amazing, you've really changed our lives, you've done a great job. Or, you're used to that kind of feedback. You're so good at something that you're going to set up a business and you're going to make it bigger. And so having to deal with that rejection sometimes is not what we're used to when we get into this position.
Yeah.
So how does that sit? Because clearly, if you're used to being in sales, and you started in sales, and he clearly started in sales and is very thankful for having that as his background, of just like hearing no is not devastating. What would you say about that? Like, how do you get over the rejection of, hi, I'm calling you for blah, and they go, not too busy, see you later, and hang up on you? Like, if that's what your salesperson is doing, or if that's what, as a business owner, you think, oh, I need to make some sales, or I need to call 5 people, like that fear of rejection.
The way that I look at it is, it's just having a reasonable conversation with someone, like what we spoke about early on, about being okay to walk away if it's not a fit for them.
Yep.
Right? If it's not a fit for them and you walk away, it's still not fun to get rejected, but it's not actually rejecting you. It's just going, these puzzle pieces don't fit together.
Yep.
Rather than, I don't like you, or you're not good enough, or whatever those stories are that might be playing out underneath. It's just not a fit for them. But if it is a fit for them and they can't see it, that's where you have some up-leveling to do around your approach to sales. Yeah. And if you can, like I said at the beginning, ask questions and get curious around what it is that they're not getting that you can see, right? And you just take that curiosity and question-based approach.
Yep.
The other person at the end of the day has to make their own decisions, right? But if you can bring that, then you're up leveling that gap between they need something and I can see that they need something and they don't need something.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that's really a good philosophy for life in general.
Yeah.
To just be nice to people and be curious. Really.
Yeah.
I like that take. Okay, so I want to talk about scalable sales processes. So we've gotten over the fact that we don't like sales because now we're just solving problems for people, and we've made a process and we've got people who are running the process, and we've worked out how to ensure that our sales hire has the same kind of passion, well, not the same passion, but knows how to transfer that passion.
Yeah, knows how to extract what they need to so that they can sell and find their own flavor of sales.
And we've worked out who we're selling to and who our target market is and who our favorite customers, and everything's going great. And the telephone starts ringing, and now we need a sales process.
Mm-hmm.
What should we do then?
Well, I'd really hope by this point you've got a sales process going. Okay. Are you talking more around how do we develop the sales process in terms of how do we go all the way from the initial conversation all the way through to a close? Or are you talking about how do we make that process scalable?
Well, I think first of all, we need to, so you actually are saying that we should have that process before we have our first hire.
Yeah.
From beginning to end.
Yeah. Here's the macro principle.
Yeah.
Sales process is important.
Yeah.
More important is the buying process.
Okay.
Right? So we can have our sales process as far as, and I'll give you an example of a typical tech, We've had an initial conversation. We've booked a demo. We've showed them our software, our product, our whatever it is that they're selling. We send them a proposal. They go and talk to their business partner, their board, whoever. We get a signed contract. Now we move to onboarding, right? Yep. It's a typical sales process, right? Yep. And that's fine. If you start with that and you just take that off this podcast and you start using that, great, please go for it, right? Yep. Here's the thing. Yep. Don't get attached to it. Because what's more important to the buyer is how they buy, not how you sell. Okay. So what you want to be asking them, and this is a great closing question, but also sales process question. What's your decision-making process look like? Like, how often has a salesperson asked you that?
Yeah.
Because it flips it from being about their sales process and them trying to close you and doing what's best for the client. What's your buying process? How do you go about making a decision? I've had some selling to small business owners, I've had some great answers. I don't make decisions on the spot. I think about it over the weekend. I meditate on all my decisions and I'll come back to you in a week. I talk to my business partner. I talk to my spouse. I talk to XYZ in my team. I talk to my board. Great. Now we understand what your buying process is. We can now align our sales process. So have a sales process in theory lined up, right? So if you need to have a proposal template ready, or you need to have a demo prepared, all of these things, right? When you're getting going, before you bring the salesperson on, you literally make this stuff up as you go. People ask for it, right? So you're almost building your sales process on the go. But when the salesperson comes in, having a few of those pieces of collateral and kind of framework there. But I wouldn't be, particularly in B2B, and the larger the dollar value, the more flexible you need to be on your sales process and make it about their buying process. And then align to that, which then becomes your sales process. So that as a foundational principle, I think, is really important. And the mindset of salesperson, you don't do these things, but read the room. Sales is art and science. The science is the structure, because the structure works, right? But if you are blunt about the structure, if you try and execute it verbatim, you're not reading the room. You're not using the tonality of your voice. You're not listening to the pauses. You're not listening to their objections. Because if someone gives you a reasonable objection, you want to pause, take it into account and go, does this mean that they're now not a fit? Or is this something that we need to address or look further into, or solve part of a problem so that we can unlock their buying process and allow them to buy? So it's a little bit of a roundabout way of talking about it, but I would be... You're forever building these assets and mindsets into the business around your approach to your sales process over time. But you certainly don't want to walk in, have a salesperson walk in and not have at least some kind of a direction as to how that would work.
Yeah, that's great. So flexibility.
And
Still staying curious.
Yeah, still staying
asking
curious.
questions.
I've forgotten
Yeah.
one thing that's really, really
Yeah.
important. Sales
Yeah.
methodology.
Yeah.
Have a sales methodology. Now, people get confused often between sales process and sales methodology. Sales process is what we've just spoken about, the bouncing ball, what's the next steps.
Yeah.
Sales methodology is how you score a deal, right?
Yeah.
It's like a rating system for how likely
Yeah.
this person is to go ahead and buy.
Yeah.
The simplest version is BANT. I know you guys use that. Have a Google. I didn't come up with it. It's all over the internet. Very easy to follow. Budget, authority, need, timing. 4 really quick questions to work out. If you don't know those, chances of them buying, low. If you know all of those, chances high, and or if you know that some of them aren't a fit, then maybe they're not going to buy for 3 months, 6 months until those things are solved, right?
Yeah.
There's many more complex and detailed methodologies out there that I would say start to kick in about $25,000 sort of size of sale.
Yeah.
Above that is where you want something more complex than BANT. But
Yeah.
having that underpinning a sales process where you're flexible, curious, and going on the buyer's journey, now you've got a real solid foundation to start building upon and customizing for your business for the scale that you were talking about before.
Yeah, wow. You know a lot about this stuff, Pete. Very good. I feel like I've been working with you for a while, but I feel like this is my first lesson.
There's always more. There's always more.
Yes. So then wrapping up, what would be a piece of advice that you'd give to a founder today who's struggling with their sales and getting traction in their sales?
Don't try and outsource it. I know it's tempting. Get help, fine, coaching, support, but it needs to be you, and you need to bring a lens of curiosity to it. I think that's been a big theme throughout today's session. Curiosity around the sales process, try and solve problems, walk away if it's not a fit for them, and understand that when you're selling to a business, people make decisions differently to when they're being sold to as a consumer. Understand it's a different skill set, because a lot of founders go out there trying to sell the way that they've been sold to, the best times they've been sold to, right, as a consumer. When you're selling B2B, it is a different skill set. And it's a complete bugbear of mine when you have sales coaches and sales gurus out there saying, oh, this is how you sell. This is how you sell to consumers. This is how you sell to businesses. They are starkly different. You can be the best consumer salesperson out there, stick you in a B2B sales environment with someone who's been trained, who's maybe not even as good as you, they'll probably outsell you. There is some real mechanics to it, and that's where the sales methodology comes into play. And I've talked about a lot of stuff, and it sounds like it might be a little bit overwhelming. Guys, if you're listening, just pluck out 1 or 2 tactical, tangible takeaways from today's session that you can put into action and just cascade your learning. Each quarter, that's what I love about sales. We're all in quarters, and that's how we measure our success and everything. Each quarter, just execute on something else, right? And make sure that it's not just like, cool, now I've learned sales, because sales is a forever learning art form.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. So you work with predominantly founders and business, and that's your passion, is to get
founders and early stage sales hires. If you got less than 5 sales people in your team, I'm the guy that understands where the founder's coming from and those sales people are coming from. If you've got 10, 20, 30, and you're in a sales organization, I understand that, but our niche, our specialization, having been a founder, having been a first sales hire, there's a few of us in our business. So far, we've kept it to founder sales solution team members, all having had that experience of being a first sales hire who's hit their targets. Because there's not all of us out there, who've been there, done that.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. It's been lovely to have you here.
It's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.